Let me just say, after View distorting the belt, they're proclaiming the real world champion. I'm going to tell you all, with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one.
Woo! Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network, powered up by the Belly Up Sports Network of podcasts. Sit back and enjoy as we bring you the latest and greatest in the world of sports, everything from the Detroit Lions to the state of Michigan sports to around the country and around the world. So what are you waiting for? Let's get out there and let's watch the latest edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And welcome indeed, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We're live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Of course, we're powered up by Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Network of podcasts. Good evening. It's November 30th. We are knee-deep in football season, and we're going to talk college and pro football tonight. First off, we're going to welcome in Stephen Rychel to the broadcast. He's going to be our resident Philadelphia Eagle insider for the rest of the year. We'll have him on maybe a couple of more times, but we're going to talk to him about the Eagles game against the Packers last weekend, which, hey, anytime anybody can beat Green Bay, you know I'm going to like it. So you got to have Steve in.
You got to love that interdivisional hate.
Thanksgiving as well. So first of all, Steve, thanks for taking time out to be with us tonight, man. How are you?
Oh, absolutely. No problem, my friend. You know, always happy to help out our belly up brothers.
So let's get right into it. We got a lot to talk about with the Lions and the Eagles. I'm glad you're an Eagles fan because I've been a big Jalen Hurts fan since day one. I loved him at Alabama and at Oklahoma. All the guy does is win. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I want to get your thoughts, as we always do here with the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We talked the Lions first and foremost. Lost a heartbreaker on Thanksgiving against the Bills, but it was weird, Steven. It was almost like
you guys were in there like like one of them UFC title fights. You're winning, and next thing you know, crack, and the fight's over.
But I wasn't as upset as I have been in the past because Detroit played good. I'm not one for moral victories, but I thought they played pretty good.
Listen, it's one of those things like you're calling it a moral victory, but you play a good game and then you're going against one of the premier elite teams, according to the pundits, around pro football in the Buffalo Bills. You're in a world title fight with one of these guys. You're one of these teams that everyone writes you off every year. It's the Lions. They'll win 6-7 games. They'll be really competitive in a bunch. That's what your guys' MO is outside of your bubble. That's what the Eagles were up until Jeffrey Lurie bought this franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, it is a heartbreaker to lose that one. If I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm nervous. I'm nervous, man. I'm like, listen, beginning of this year, that we were the guys. We were the guys in the AFC. Now you're looking around, it's like, all right, maybe we're not the guys. Maybe there's a couple guys.
Well, their defense is showing some cracks again. If Detroit can put that kind of yardage up on them, and I don't want to hear any more about how Josh Allen was a little bit banged up. Everybody's banged up by now, dude. And so I don't want to hear that. I'm going to give the Lions some credit. My question to you with the Lions, they're 4-7. Can they rebound and make a run to possibly make somebody nervous to be a playoff contender?
There's a lot of football left. There's a month left. You know what I mean? The Eagles haven't even clinched a spot. Okay.
No.
Anything can happen this last month. People get injured, good teams get hot, teams that were hot, things start falling apart. People get film on them. You develop tendencies this season. People catch up. This league, it's up and down, man. So, this is one of those times I think they can dust themselves off. Could they be a contender? Yes. Hopefully you guys get it. I mean, I love those stories. Like, we were that team last year. really, really horrendous start to Jalen Hurts' season, and he puts it all back together at the end. Obviously, growing pains, getting beat up by Tom Brady. It is what it is. But you seen what Jalen has turned around and done with this year. It'd be arguably to say he's the most improved player in football.
Well,
so you guys can do it. I think you guys have that. We watched it happen last year. We watch it happen every year. Doesn't mean you guys can't be it. But the question really is, do you really want to be a playoff contender, knowing like you already have what you guys already got the third pick because of the Stafford trade swap?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
We're sitting at 6, so we're like, hey, we're just hoping that when we get to see the Saints at the end of the year too. Add another loss on top of that. Who knows what could happen? Eagles could wind up having 2 picks and one of them being in the top 5 is insanity.
That's crazy,
And then you guys are also in that same boat.
Yeah.
Now you're in it now because of the Rams are having an absolute stinker of a season, banged up all over the place. You got a top 3 pick as you're looking at right now.
I know.
I'm sure right now you guys are sitting there patting your GM in the back like, oh, thank God you guys got picked the right year to grab that pick.
Well, I'm just hoping, I'm gonna tell Matt Stafford, don't play the rest of the year. Take care of yourself, man. Heal up. Heal up till next year.
Within 14 days. No, man. No.
I agree. Well, the Lions.
I would start. Listen, not just you being a Lions fan. Listen, if anyone knows anything about, if you guys don't understand what head injury is, when you have 2 of them back to back like that, you have to shut him down for almost 12 months. I promise you. Well, he's a quarterback who is going to get hit religiously.
And he's got nothing to prove. He's won a Super Bowl. He's a family guy. I would shut it down the rest of the year.
If I'm his family member, I would tell him to start looking at what what's happened to people who have serious CTE injuries. Guys that go down that line, both in football, combat sports.
Yeah.
Stuff. People who are repeatedly hit in the head.
Go and
look and see how people like that are looking like in their later life, and then tell that man to go on the field.
Right on. Let's look at the game Sunday with the Lions. They play Jacksonville at home, and depending on where you look, quarter 4, which we like to use here at Belly Up Sports, or DraftKings or FanDuel, they're anywhere from a 1 to a 3-point underdog at home. So it's almost a coin flip, but maybe Jacksonville, they're favored. I'm a little surprised by that. I look at that.
This is the one where I think the line, like if you're a betting degenerate, number one, I think this is the one where you're looking at the lines,
which I am.
I mean, not nothing against Jacksonville. I watching this year play my Eagles. Doug Peterson has a tough football team, but they also tend to have some flaws in them, and he's shown some of his flaws. Well, I think it's one of the things that the Lions do have a team that could exploit them, especially the way that your kid Hutchinson is playing and can get after Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I think that's fun.
Well, I look at the parlay that I'm looking at right now. Lions, if you take the Lions +3 and you get over 49.5, that's for the over-under. I'm leaning towards that. If you go with quarter 4, you're looking at +215. If you're taking them +1, like with DraftKings and FanDuel, their line, it's +245 or 235. To me, that's hard to pass up, because I think these teams are going to go over 49.5, in my opinion. So I'm kind of leaning that way myself. And the teaser bet.
What, you think it's going to be a close one where they're both pushing 30, right?
Yeah, I think Detroit's got no defense. I mean,
we only put up 37 against you guys, and you guys were right in there scoring points.
37-35, man, opening game. I mean, the defense Detroit played was against Chicago and Green Bay, who, Green Bay had no quarterback play.
But we already know how football plays. That divisional games are coin flip, dude. don't matter how good the top of the division is, you guys see each other so much that those games are always 7 points, 8 points within that time frame. Like there's not a whole lot of times you see the massive blowouts. You know what I mean?
That's 27-23 right here, 27-24. I think that's very easily attained with the Lions or the Jags. So if you take the Lions +3 and 49.5, you're going to get a little over 2-1 on your money. So you put, a sawbuck on it, you're going to get $21.50 back on that $10 bet. And if you think the Jags can cover and it's 49.5, you get $2.40. I mean, I tend to lean with the Lions and getting 3 points and that over. That to me, that's good money.
I think that's the one to go with if you're going to do it.
I agree. The Lions also, just a couple of prop bets before we go to your Phillies or your Eagles in Tennessee. And we'll recap them against the Packers. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Man, he's going to do it. I think
over
that's
under 85 yards for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm tending to lean to go over on that.
I would go over too. He's one of I think one of the more silent stars that have kind of built up over the last few years. I think given an opportunity, you guys find a way to get golf out of there and get a young quarterback in here somehow. Him and somebody else could really be explosive.
And the other one, DeAndre Swift is with quarter 4 ±16 yards on the ground, 30 yards receiving. I think he can get 16 yards on the ground by accident. And I think he can hit both of those.
I think that the hardest thing is do you trust Detroit enough to throw him for 30 yards?
That's the one. That's
the one that gets you right there. I know you did. See, that's where they're getting you. You're like, oh, we're getting him with 16 yards. He could have a terrible day and still run for like 28.
Well, exactly. And he's one of those guys right now, Steven, that, he's talked to the local media. He's pissed that he's not getting that his touches have been cut because Jamal Williams he's having a great year.
Kind of the rhetoric that Eagles fans have heard about Miles Sanders over the last few years, and he's still getting his carries cut. Yeah. But he's been a man possessed this year. So what I would say if I'm DeAndre Swift, let them keep doing that. Give them that fuel for when you're running that ball and you want to start busting out tackles for 10, 15 more yards. That's that dude you want to see when he comes in next season. I would tell the media keep banging at him, because that's what we did to Miles, and look what he's doing this year. He's what he's averaging almost 3.5 yards more per carry this season.
That's awesome. Finally, Trevor Lawrence ±225 through the air.
I think that's almost easy, just because they want to passing a lot.
Yeah, I think I would take that as well. So we've figured out the Lions, so we're going to make some money there. Let's go down to your Eagles. First of all, let's talk about that game against Green Bay on Sunday.
Hey, man, I mean, before the game even started, it was already a record-setting day because people tend to forget Jason Kelce made his 170th start, breaking Chuck McNair's record for most starts in franchise history. Mm-hmm. So Jason Kelce's the legit Iron Man of the Philadelphia football, but man, Jalen Hurts. Drops 40 on A-Rod and the Green Bay Packers. And A-Rod even no mossed it, if you ask me, man, at the end of that game. He was getting beat up a little bit. All of a sudden he's making a run to that locker room.
I don't feel so bad. The way Hurts ran on the Packers, the way he did in Detroit, the opening game. Detroit doesn't have any answer for these running quarterbacks, but neither did Green Bay. Oh, my goodness, and
I mean, that was – listen, I was there. It was definitely – listen – The first moments I remember watching football was like the Randall Cunningham New York Giants game where he does his whole Gumby impression and then that was my first time watching the Eagles game on TV. That's the first quarterback I remember. And Jalen's found a way to kind of like they've reinvented the quarterback wheel factory. I don't know what crop this is coming out of the last like 5 years or so, but the crop of running quarterbacks that we have now, like we always used to kind of stigmatize them. They were either one or the other. You were the running quarterback or you're the. These guys have also, or with Jalen's improvement that he's done over the past year, been able to find, find those windows. The touchdown pass he threw to Quez Watkins had a 28% completion percentage chance of being completed because of distance to the sideline, distance to the defender, and he's hitting throws like that on a regular basis.
Yeah,
throws last year that they were either intercepted or was out of bounds. Like there's little things that he's improved over this past year. You just have to take notice of what he's done. I think if you really look at the MVP voting right now, I mean, you would have to say, just because of the way the league works, that Patrick Mahomes probably shouldn't and is going to be the MVP. But there's an absolute reason why Jalen Hurts is swaying people and has won people over in the past, 13, 14 games of his regular season football career.
I think they're neck and neck myself. I wouldn't be upset if they gave it to Hurts. I think he's.
Listen, it's one of those things that I'm fine with them not giving it to him, because it's one of those things where that he's one of those guys where he uses that as something to kind of build on. So really going to be interested to see how the rest of the season plays out for him and my team. But really fun going to be watched that game and what we're about to be talking about with this coming week as the Tennessee Titans are coming into town.
Man, this is going to be a great matchup. One of the marquee matchups. Eagles have opened up. I think they opened up -6. Now they're at -5.5 at home against Tennessee. I don't know if that's a lot of points. I kind of like that line. I'll tell you what I'm going to do in the parlay, but what's your thoughts on this line, this spread, -5.5?
5.5. I mean, I just think it could very well even be closer than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see, obviously when the Eagles have been winning some of these games, they're right around 8, 9 points, 10 points. It's not really this humongous margin of victory outside of a handful of games, right?
Right.
So it's one of these things, especially when you have the Tennessee Titans coming into town, and they're predominantly very good running team, and that has kind of been the Eagles' crux to their problems on defense is the running game. Jordan Davis is started that practice window. That should be helping things. Obviously, bringing Linval Joseph and Ndamukong in here is definitely going to help that type of situation. The question is can they stop the bleeding enough? Because obviously last week it was again still problem that still reared his head. Is that the run defense, which is one of these things. I still think would be within that 5.5. It might be even 3 points.
Okay. Well, here's the parlay that I'm going with. Until the Eagles prove me wrong, -5.5 and under 44.5. I think it's going to be a defensive struggle. You get +290. That's too good to pass up in my book. I mean, it's worth putting $10 down to get almost 3-1 for your money. I like the Eagles to win 24-17. And, that would put me right in the money. I don't think it's going to be a shootout.
I mean, I don't think if you really think about it, they've only put more than 30 points up, less than a handful of times, right?
Just against the NFC North teams.
It's only like 4 or 5 games that they've really been at that. I really see it being 24, 17, 21-14, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And, I just think that, like you said, Tennessee is predominantly a running team. And then, I think Philadelphia's defense is going to hold them to under 20 points. And that's why I think I'm going to stick with the under. Couple of the other bets that we want to talk about, the hot prop bets, according to quarter 4, Jalen Hurts, the over-under for him through the air, 233.5.
I'll take that. I mean, he's definitely on for that, in my opinion.
Okay, he's going to go over that. All right. And then he's got
over 100 yards. He's only done that, I think, twice this year.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously last week he just did 150 plus. And like I said, Miles is getting close to 1,000 yards. I think it's if I'm Miles Sanders, it's very important for me to break 1,000 yards this season with Mr. Henry on the other sideline. It's very important for him. It's a contract year. There's a lot of things that I think, I called a Miles game last week. He gave me 2 touchdowns. I think it's another one of those things where, I don't know if he's going to get the 2 touchdowns again, but I definitely see him have a better chance going over 100 yards this week over Jalen. But you never know. Okay. He could wind up breaking off another one again against it. We could sit there and think Tennessee's thinking the same thing, and next thing you know, Jalen's RPOing him to death. That here's 20 here, 15 here, 30 here. Next thing you know, he is over 100 yards.
Well, it's funny is you look at these stats and these percentages to go over 100 yards rushing, and 5 years ago you would have never seen that.
That's a little high in my opinion.
44% is high. I agree with that. And the finally for Derrick Henry, I think the over-under is 92.5 yards. And do you think your defense can hold them under 100?
I mean, like I said, I think there's only like 1 or 2 backs this year that's gotten over 100. It's been more like it's been gashed by committee, so to speak.
Right.
The change of pace is what I think has really been hurting us. But Derrick Henry's one of them dudes. I just don't think he's more of a power back, which I think plays against us because we got guys that could deal with that. I think that where the guys that really hurt us are the guys maybe a little bit undersized, a little bit more shifty, or a little bit more faster. Those are the guys that really beat us up. Like I have my eye circled on that one. I still have I'm paying more attention to Tony Pollard and Saquon Barkley coming in, and I'm more worried about Justin Fields than anything else when we're looking at what's going on coming forward for running backs that scare me. Derrick is more of a bruiser. I like that the Philadelphia holding them under 100. The question is it going to be under 90 where they could be floating, where someone could cover that,
Right. Real quick, one more game I want to talk to you about before we let you go. Sunday, 4:25. It's the Chiefs and it's the Bengals, and it's at Cincinnati. A rematch of the NFC or the AFC Championship game last year.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs are rolling.
Lots of steak.
Chiefs are rolling, and
that's why I said, listen,
I've got a root for them because
you heard the love I had for Jalen Hurts, and I'm telling you that Patrick Mahomes is the MVP right now for a reason. That kid is so special in so many different ways. There's going to be a problem moving forward of him not being in the MVP voting. Remember how NBA fans used to get mad, like how Michael used to dominate the MVP voting. When Michael left, it was Kobe that dominated the. We're going to start having this conversation with Patrick Mahomes here in football in a few years. Like, why do we have to talk about him always being the MVP? Can't somebody else be the MVP? No, he's Patrick freaking Mahomes, and he's that special.
And I love Joe Cool. I love Joe Burrow, but
I hate calling him Joe Cool. Joe Cool to me will always be Joe Montana. But
there you go. Fair enough.
He can be Baby Cool or something.
There you go. Little Joe Cool. Let's call him that. We'll call him Little Joe Cool.
I don't know if I can call him Little, man.
Jamar Chase.
Kids call Little.
But I look at these weapons both teams have. He's got Chase back.
He's blessed, isn't he? Oh. He is blessed.
My God. And then you got, Schuster coming back. You got Kelsey. You got Kadarius Toney if he's healthy. Scantling.
I'm always partial to Travis because I think really close, really soon, Kansas City Chiefs fans are going to have to start throwing away Mr. Gonzalez as the best tight end that's ever worn that uniform, and Travis Kelce's about to take that over.
I agree, and I love Gonzalez, but this has got the makings.
I think the tight end is such an undervalued thing. It's just it just evolved so much over the past like 10 years or so that it's kind of hard to judge some of the earlier guys into it. Like we talk about Shannon Sharp like he was the greatest ever, but you look at the numbers now, it's like, well, some of the guys now are trashing that. Well, I just think there's also how the game's evolved being used of the tight end and how the position's evolved itself. I still think we need to have one of these times where a tight end winds up winning the MVP. That's all I got to say.
You know, it's funny is way back in the day when I was growing up, Kellen Winslow was.
I was literally about to say Kellen Winslow because he's
prominent tight end.
You always see the Chargers AFC playoff game, right? Being carried out at the end. What was that?
Against the Dolphins. Yeah. What do you think of
that game?
What do you think of the Dolphins?
Man, listen, it's so crazy because I was me and you were talking about before how I was really hard on Jalen as he came in. I think a whole lot of people were really, really hard on Tua when he came into the league, right?
Yeah.
And I think just like Jalen, he's taken a tremendous leap over this past season. Now we just mentioned Jalen Hurts. We just mentioned Patrick Mahomes. Why is no one not talking about what Tua has done down there in Miami?
All he does is win, eh? All he does is win.
Just win, like they quietly just doing their thing down there. They about to make Josh Allen and Bills start be sweating real soon.
Oh boy. Well, Steven, this has been fun.
We talk about how the NFC East was a bunch of losers last year. What about the AFC East? There was no contenders anywhere to be seen.
Both divisions could have
15 years, and all of a sudden, here we go.
Both divisions could have.
You have literally almost the whole division ready to be in the playoff.
I was just going to say both divisions in each conference could make the
crazy, right?
It's amazing.
Like how much 1 year the disparity it's just like they were both the bottom, and now they're almost completely at the top of the playoff calendar, I guess you would say, right?
Well, Steve, I got to leave it there, man. I got to let you go. We got some other guests lined up.
Finish it up some other time, my friend.
You bet. Thanks for coming on. I really enjoyed it. We'll get you on again real soon, right before the end of the
anytime. Always here.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Take care. Thank you. All right. Stephen Rychel joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network, and, of course, powered up by Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Network of podcasts. We're going to take a break. Todd Corder scheduled to join us around the corner. We're going to talk college football, the game, the Michigan Wolverines, baby. They are the class of the Big Ten going into the championship game. Can they keep the momentum going? We'll talk to Todd about that, college football playoff, and a whole lot more. And Stacy Morgan as well, coming up at the top of hour number 2. Don't go anywhere. It's the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network and, of course, the Belly Up Network of podcasts.
Welcome to Fresh Ball Fall. It's the season of pumpkin spice and making sure your crotch looks nice. That means sipping cider in a fall breeze and using Manscaped products to trim your balls with ease. That's right, today's show is brought to you by Manscaped, a company here to make sure that your foliage isn't the only thing shedding its excess leaves. Heck, even Mother Nature knows it's time to lose the excess clutter for fall. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping when you use the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. Whether you're brand new or already with us at Manscaped, you could use the crown jewel of care for your family jewels, the Platinum Package 4.0. This glorious package, you can align your entire hygiene routine all in one swoop. Inside the 10-part Platinum Package is everything you know and love about the Performance Package, plus some shower goodies included to elevate your grooming game to platinum. You can now completely upgrade your shower routine with the Ultra Premium Body Wash and Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo and Conditioner. You'll have your skin and hair feeling hydrated and smelling fresh. Don't forget to apply their aluminum-free Ultra Premium Deodorant. And don't worry, it's not pumpkin spice, it's a cologne-quality fragrance. Get the Platinum Package this fall. These products are guaranteed to be hits for your dangly bits. Go to manscaped.com to get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the promo code BELLYUPFANTASy. Manscaped, clear out the leaves. It's your tree trunk's time to shine.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And, of course, we are powered up by Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Network of podcasts. let us bring in now our next guest, old friend of the show, fellow Michigan fan. Of course, I know he's happy as all get out as the Wolverines again beat the Ohio State Buckeyes. Todd Corder from ATL Prime Sports. You can hear him all over the place doing play-by-play from high school football to hockey to college basketball. Todd, welcome in, my friend. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to talk to you. Great to have you on again. Well, Todd, it is a fun time of year for us. Michigan, they came through again. They beat Ohio State one more time, and they dominated them in that second half. It was a joy to behold.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, they beat them good in the second half. Ohio State was ahead at the halftime, and on the first drive of the game, it surely didn't look so promising. Ohio State shredded them and went right down the field with a run via pass and scored. And I thought, oh boy, it might be a long day for Michigan, but the defense made really good adjustments, and the secondary was fantastic, especially in the second half. The play made by Stanstrill there, when he knocked.
Oh my goodness!
Right, that was just a fabulous play. But to me, the difference in the game was when Ohio State went cover zero, they dared Michigan to throw the football, and I can kind of understand why they did it to a certain extent early on. But after they got burned once, I wouldn't have done it again. McCarthy played the best game of the season. I thought it was the game of his life, to be honest with you. He was magnificent with a deep ball, but guys were wide open. And when you're playing cover zero, it's a risk-reward defense. They wanted to stop the Michigan run. They did a pretty good job of that until about, I would say, the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, Michigan was wearing them down, and the two big runs there by Donovan Edwards salted the game away. I know a lot of Ohio State fans complained about a potential pass interference call, and that's a pretty good debate there. And Jim Harbaugh said Michigan was really fortunate / lucky when he said that Ohio State had a fake punt called, and the Buckeyes failed to execute it. He said that would have been a big game. Now, would have been a difference in the game? Who knows? You can't go woulda, shoulda, coulda, houlda. You've got to look at the scoreboard, and Ohio State, they were dominated in the fourth quarter.
Well, Todd, it's funny is I don't blame Ohio State either for loading up against the run. You look at that game against Illinois, and I think it was a combination of McCarthy not playing his best and the wide receivers, Andrell Anthony missing a wide open pass in the end zone. They didn't look sharp. And to a man, everybody I've talked to, and, nobody saw this blowout coming. And I thought if Michigan were to win, it'd be a close game. And I'm going to, full disclosure, I picked the Buckeyes because I figured they're going to be at the Horseshoe. They were steaming after last year getting beat soundly in the Big House. But JJ, like you said, he made the plays, and that was a career game for him. But I also got to tell you, Todd, I question Ryan Day with, not going for it, when he in the second half, they get that first down and they get the momentum. And I don't understand some of his play calling. Not only that, but some of the pass plays. And, I credit Michigan's defense, but Ryan Day, I think, thoroughly got out-coached by Jim Harbaugh last Saturday.
Well, there's no question. What I didn't like that Ohio State did the most was throw that sideline out in the flat towards the sideline. Yeah. They continuously did it. It never worked, and I don't know why you don't go back to it. Michigan's D-line really won the battle against Ohio State's O-line in the second half. And I'm really surprised. I know this is not Ohio State's mantra or anybody in college football's mantra anymore, but I'm telling you what, when that D-line is pinning their ears coming back after the quarterback, you want to stop them doing it, throwing a traditional screen over them a couple of times. Call. Start thinking, am I just going to come after the passer? And Ohio State really didn't make any adjustments. And you mentioned the Illinois game, and I'm telling you, Lou, Michigan was really fortunate to get the heck out of it for the win, because that was an illegal pick play by the definition of it. And Brent Bielema had every right to complain about it. Did it win Michigan the game? No, Illinois had another chance to stop them. Yeah. They did. Michigan got the pass interference call and set up the Mike Money Moody field goal, because that guy is money. He's going to be kicking for somebody on Sunday, and I'm hoping it's relatively soon.
And here's the thing that Illinois did this a little bit, and what teams have got, I don't think Michigan's improved that much. What happened to teams? And I'm glad they didn't do it. You mentioned the square out pass, or the pass to the outside. These teams get away with throwing that quick slant in 8 to 10 yards. That burns Michigan all the time. And Ohio State got away from it. I'm glad, it just, again, I'm happy for it. But we talk about Sandestrill. He played very, very good. And again,
brilliant.
And that offensive line played fantastically again. You can say what you want, Todd, about the big plays. There's a reason they got those big plays, is because the O-line burst the holes wide open for him, gave him that momentum. So you can say what you want. The O-line dominated that game for Michigan.
Well, they did it, particularly in the second half and in the fourth quarter. The first half, not as much, which set up the big pass plays. But I thought when Michigan burned them twice in the first half, I thought Jim Knowles would come out and make adjustments defensively and not continue to come with I thought he continued to come with some safety help, and they did on occasion, but not near enough. And Michigan was licking their chops. Jim Knowles, to me, had the Don Brown moment. I mean, remember when Michigan? Remember he couldn't cover the cross.
Oh my God!
Michigan couldn't cover the crossing routes in the 62-36 loss in Columbus. Well, there it was. It was your Don Brown moment. And also, Ohio State fans are thinking, is Ryan Day John Cooper? And that's way too early, because Ryan Day is 45-5 after 50 games, and he did take him to the national championship in 20.
Did you watch the post-game show when they were chanting for Urban Meyer, all the Ohio State fans?
Oh, it was can't miss TV. I mean, come on. It was
I loved it.
I actually was watching the game. It was the first time I wasn't home in 8 weeks calling college football or college basketball. And I actually watched the game with my wife and two friends of ours that are Ohio State fans. So,
oh boy.
And that was fine. I mean, gosh, we've been friends for years, so no, it's not a big deal at all.
Well, that's fun. So now Michigan, they get to take on Purdue. Who would have thought Purdue would have won that division? And 8-4, congratulations to them. I think Michigan's like a 16.5-point favorite or something like that. But wow, it's incredible what it's been good for Purdue, but I don't know. 16.5 points is a lot, Todd, for a championship game. I think Michigan's going to win. I just don't know if it's going to be that big of a spread.
I don't think they are. And the reason is they played their best game of the year, and their most important game of the year is they're going to be a letdown against Purdue. Go back to last year against Iowa.
True.
Michigan get those trick plays in the first half. It's probably a much closer game. Yeah. Iowa doesn't have an offense. Purdue does, and Purdue can move the football. I do think Michigan will pull away and probably win by 2 touchdowns and maybe an extra point. But I think that 16.5, 17 is a big number, and I've got Purdue covering, but barely.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun game, and Purdue, I think, even though they're not going to win that game, I think, they're still going to get to go to Florida for a good bowl game, and hats off to them. And, if they win, they're going to have to pony up to keep Brom there, because I know he's going to be a hot commodity like he is every year,
He's a really good coach, did a great job at Louisville before coming over to Purdue. And, I'm just wondering, they still have 5 and 7 teams out there. Is Michigan State going to get a bowl bid? It's possible, but highly unlikely, but you never know. And hey, they could just go right down to Detroit and end up playing a MAC team. And hey, they could get a win and have some positive for next season. Who knows? We'll have to see. We'll see if a 5 or maybe a Texas A&M gets a bowl bid. We'll have to see.
Well, I know the latest that I saw, they go by the academic performance index, I think is what it is, and they were 3rd, I think. So there's 2 teams ahead of them, 2 or 3 ahead of them that at 5 and 7. It's going to obviously this weekend with some of the conference championship games and one of the, some of the remaining ones, but that would be interesting. Before we get to the playoff rankings, sticking to the Big Ten, Todd, couple of new coaches. You got Matt Rule going to Nebraska, which Nebraska, let's face it, it's not 1975 and Tom Osborne anymore. They're not a hotbed. It's going to be tough to turn them around, especially with USC and UCLA coming in. But Luke Fickell going to Wisconsin, I like that hire. I think that's a good hire for Wisconsin. I know, talking to my dad who lives up there, not everybody's happy about that, but I think it's a good hire.
Well, we'll go to Matt Rule first. I think it's an excellent hire for Nebraska. He's going to win. It's going to take some time.
Right.
Nebraska was really good. Of course, they split the title with Michigan in '97. They had some good years, but their biggest mistake was leaving the Big Ten. They came for the money. They could always recruit the Big 12 because a lot of their games on the road were in Texas. Well, now they can't recruit the state of Texas like they used to because they went for the money pit, the Big Ten, and I see why. But it's costed them on the field. And turn Nebraska around, yes, to a national power. I don't know about that. The competition, well, the West, I mean, once they do away with the divisions, which I think they need to do, it'll be harder because you're going to have Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, USC. They're going to be the 4 top dogs in the conference. And if anybody can get over them on occasion, maybe, I don't know. I don't know who it could be. Maybe UCLA or Michigan State on occasion. But after that, that's it. I think it's going to be a tough nut to crack. And when you talked about Luke Fickell, he had opportunities to take other jobs. He wants to stay in the Big Ten. And he's at home with Wisconsin. I know Jim Leonard had a shot at the job, and somebody's going to get a great defensive coach. I wonder who in Jim Leonard. But you know what? I'm telling you, if Ryan Day doesn't beat Michigan in the next 2 years, they'll be calling Luke Fickell for sure from Wisconsin. That's easier dial than it would be out on the West Coast.
You got that right. And, to your point about Michigan, USC, Penn State, and Ohio State being the top 4, the other thing that we never used to have to worry about, Todd, even 5 years ago now, is NIL money. And those 4 blue blood schools got a huge fan base that they're going to, and alumni base that's going to shell out that kind of loot. Now you got to start thinking about that. And I don't know if Nebraska's got that to be able to compete with that. I mean, time will tell, like you say, but I think they can be, Nebraska could be a good Iowa type team, a 9 to 10 win team on occasion, but I don't think they're going to be national contenders either.
A lot of competition in the Big Ten. Lou, I'm not totally sold. It's a slam dunk that USC and UCLA are coming in. Maybe USC is, but UCLA, there's a lot going on in the state of California trying to block it. Maybe when this is all over, Cal and Washington come with them, or none of them come at all. I think, honestly, it's best for college football that they stay out on the West Coast, even though, coming to the Big Ten enhance the conference.
Well, it's like I say, I've said for a while now, unfortunately, old traditions and old rivalries are a thing of the past. And, who knows, God, the way it's going, the Rose Bowl might be left out of the championship, the bowl championship mix, the way they're talking. So anything's possible anymore. Let's get to the college football rankings. No surprise in the top 4. Well, there was a debate whether Michigan should be number 1. I'm not surprised that Georgia's 1, and I'm not upset about it. I think Georgia and Michigan 1 and 2 is good, and I knew TCU and USC would be 3 and 4. Here's my question to you, Todd. Are they the most deserving, or are they the best teams, or are they the most deserving top 4 teams? I guess, is TCU and USC really the 3rd and 4th best team in the country?
You look at the record, and based on how they played, they got to be there. There isn't a 12 or a 16 team playoff yet. If there was, we could definitely answer that question. But until then, we can't. So they quote unquote deserve to be there. But you know what? Every week when we get to this point, one of the 4 teams ends up losing every time.
Yeah.
I picked to lose is either TCU or USC. And actually, I have them, each of them losing this week, and pure chaos coming. I think the Buckeyes are going to get in. And don't look now, cover your ears, but Alabama could follow them. If it's a close game, I don't think TCU is out. But if they get blown out, the committee will be running to put Alabama in it, and Ohio State will be in it.
Well,
and what, could you imagine? Here, let's have fun with this. Could you imagine Georgia losing to LSU? Michigan, they're 1. Ohio State moves to 4. Holy cow. Or they play for the national title. Oh, man. One word I would think in my mind is revenge.
Oh, my God. And that's I would love nothing better than to get 2 Big Ten teams in the playoff, but I don't want to see Ohio State again. I don't. That's just like coming up Friday night, USC and Utah. The thing to keep in mind with Utah, their number 1 running back is opted out. He's getting ready for the pros. So, does USC, can Utah hang with them? But to your point, if USC loses to Utah without their top running back, they're out.
They're done. That's right. They're done. And it's a shame that Utah's top running back is not playing.
Yeah.
What Utah's bullied USC up front. And if they open up holes, they have capable backs. Turn that game around. Utah has USC's number. We'll see. Continue to have it. I have Utah winning the game outright, despite
I hope so.
Back not in there.
I mean, but if USC gets in and Michigan were to play them, I wouldn't be that worried because Notre Dame ran on them. They pushed them around on defense, and I think Michigan would run up and down the field on USC. Caleb Williams, he'll give Michigan some fits on defense, but I think Michigan could handle them. But you and I had some banter back and forth about Alabama, and I said last week, don't be surprised if they find a way to kind of sneak their way in. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Well, sometimes I am, but
yes, you are.
But they've got them ahead of Tennessee. Now, the reason I know the committee is in love with Alabama, and so is ESPN. But again, Todd, I know they've got 2 losses. They're to a combined 4 points on the road, and there can't be any way that they would leapfrog Ohio State. They're going to have TCU and USC both lose.
That's correct.
I can see TCU losing. Kansas State's no slouch, and I just don't trust this committee. Even if TCU loses a close game, I could see them bouncing them out because they want marquee matchups in there too. Don't let that kid you.
I don't see it happening, but it wouldn't surprise me. Don't hold your breath, because could you imagine if we have 2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams in the Final Four? The eastern part of the country would love it, and the western part of the country would absolutely unequivocally hate it. I don't think Alabama deserves to be above Tennessee.
I don't either.
Beat them fair and square. What hurt Tennessee was losing their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
They made the excuse to
That's
put Alabama
garbage.
from Tennessee, and that's wrong. They don't do that at the professional level. Let's say Mahomes gets hurt for Kansas City, and they're going to play Buffalo in the playoffs. Well, they're not going to go, well, Kansas City, you need to sit home. You don't have a chance of Mahomes.
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely, unequivocally ridiculous that they would do that.
Well, Kansas City would still have a Michigan guy. They'd have Chad Henne. He's still he could lead them to the promised land. Whenever you got a Michigan quarterback, you can't go wrong, right? What?
Well, by the name of Tom Brady, yes.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Brian Greasy was a really good professional quarterback. He
wasn't bad. He wasn't bad.
Very,
what about Elvis Gerbach in Kansas City? He had a few moments.
Hey, anybody that puts on even on a practice squad is an absolute stud. You're the best of the best. I mean, you have to totally respect anyone that even gets a cup of coffee in the NFL, let alone holding a clipboard.
So give me your final four. Give me your prediction Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock after the smoke clears. Give me your prediction. Who's going to be making their plans for New Year's Eve in either Atlanta or wherever it's at, Glendale and Miami or wherever for the final four?
I'm going to knock you. You know what? Georgia could lose this game to LSU. I definitely think LSU covers, but it's going to be close. Brian Kelly and his Southern Iced Tea joke down here. It's going to be a close game here in Atlanta. I like Georgia to win it. So Georgia's 1, Michigan's 2. Ohio State will be 3. Alabama will be 4. And they're going to play each other. And you're going to see TCU is going to get beat, and so is USC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Man, when the country will go berserk. We could talk for an hour on that, because I honestly think if they were to get those 4 teams in, they would find a way to put Ohio State 4 and Alabama 3 just so they don't
think they do that. Honestly, I don't.
Well,
I think the Titans would match up in the semifinal. It's all about TV and money. There's no question they would pair them against each other.
Well, I hate to talk about something negative, but we got to bring it up. The garbage that happened, which is Tunnelgate 2022.
Yeah.
The Big Ten came down with their official ruling, and Todd, I think they whiffed big time. We both like Michigan an awful lot. We're Michigan fans. I think getting a reprimand was the way it was handled was a joke. I think the $100,000 fine for Michigan State is a joke. That's like fining you and me $5 for going 100 miles an hour. What a black eye, man. And it just won't go away.
The whole rivalry's had a black eye.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's here it goes. One, what the kids did for Michigan State was awful, and it was inexcusable. It was despicable, and etc.
Right.
2, I blame this. I mean, it's on them, but there's other blame to it. Michigan saw this coming a year ago when Ohio State had issues, and then Penn State this year. Michigan should have A, had more security, and B, have the kids come out at a different time just to keep everybody away. C, society has changed as a whole. This tunnel's been sitting here for 100 years. Yeah. We've had 0 problems in 99 of them. And now all of a sudden, and now we have problems. It all starts at home. It all starts with the parents. And then after that, it starts with the leaders and the coaches at each institution, Michigan and Michigan State. They need to get the nastiness out of this rivalry out the window. I think they all need to become adults, sit in the room and iron it out, have a barbecue together this summer, let it be televised. I really don't care, and iron this out. Back in the day, if this would have happened when you were much younger, there's no social media to it.
That's right there.
The two teams in the conference handle it privately, and C, we don't know the outcome, and D, these kids are never charged because they're going to have a record now, and I don't like that. And E, that's how I would have handled it, even though what they did, it was despicable. And what were the two Michigan kids doing with all the Michigan State kids? They should have all been on the field with their teammates, even though the Michigan players were taunting the Michigan players by yelling. Were taunting the Michigan State players by waving goodbye to them when they lost. And that all just added up. And it was an unfortunate incident. Even the Michigan fan that grabbed Mel Tucker. What in the world are you doing?
I don't get it. Todd, you're right. It's not 1950 anymore where, we're never going to have those days back where you win and you're humble and you go off. And I know there was some fracases back then. I mean, I'm not naive, but your point about social media is absolutely correct. It's a me now generation. And your other point, these kids have been getting away with stuff like this. They're put on a pedestal. They think that they're impervious to anything. And this is what happens. And shame on Michigan for not taking better control of it. If you're going to blame Harbaugh for his attitude, well, then you got to blame Tucker for not showing a little bit of discipline. It's both ways.
Right.
And to me, it's foolish to blame both sides on it. And it is, it's funny is both my brothers-in-law are big Michigan State fans. Most of my family is, and Michigan won that game. And I was telling my brother-in-law, Chuck, on Monday, if it almost feels like a hollow win because I can't enjoy it because this crap overshadows it. I don't get it. Todd, I got about a minute and a half left. So the Lions, they lose a heartbreaker, but they got Jacksonville coming up, 3-point dogs. Give me what you think is going to end up with the Lions this year. What are they looking at record-wise, real quick?
Well, you look at the next 6 games, 2 of them are tough. I'm telling you what, they could win 4 in the next 6.
Yeah.
What would that give them? 8 wins, 8
and 10. 8 and 9.
I really think they actually could finish that.
Yeah.
If they would have beat Buffalo on Thanksgiving Day, which would make my turkey go down much easier, then I would have started dreaming a little bit. But the playoff dream is over because they lose the tiebreaker with Seattle, and Washington's front of them. They win that tiebreaker. But you know what? If they can beat Green Bay and sweep them at the end of the year and come out with 8 or 9 wins, Dan Campbell's on to something. I know the mob, the social media mob is all over Campbell because of the clock management deal, but Jared Goff was to blame as much on that one play on 31 when he threw the fade pass down the near sideline. If you take a look at the route and look at the replay, he had a man crossing down the field wide open on a slant, and the other towards the other way. They were both wide open. He took the shot down the field. He would just taken the first down. Detroit could have won the game, and I wonder what the Lions are going to do with Goff. And I think he's played pretty well all year. He's made some costly turnovers, but I wonder what they're going to do next year. Do they go get a young quarterback? I think they need to build the defense and continue with Goff because that's the way to build the team. But then again, they could take it, get a cheap quarterback, but then again, you don't have an experienced quarterback and the rest of your team suffers. So I would keep them and build the team as inexpensive as I could.
Todd, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for joining us. If I don't talk to you beforehand, have a Merry Christmas. I got a feeling I know what your New Year's Eve plans are going to be, just like mine, watching our Wolverines in the playoffs again this year. Thanks again.
Real quick, I know you're almost out of time. I was in Dallas doing some NAPHL hockey.
Nice.
And the building you and I did games in 2019. I was there a couple of weeks ago.
Awesome. That's great, man. Hockey's upon us, man. Boston's only 3 months away. Todd, thank you very much for joining us. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'll have you on ATL Prime Sports soon.
All right. Thank you. Todd Corder with us. And let's bring in Stacy Morgan right away. How about that? Boom. We want to thank Todd Corder for coming on, talk a little college football as Michigan and getting set for the Big Ten championship game against Purdue and their sights set on a return trip to the playoffs. Let's bring in, we'll call him our Atlanta Falcons insider. I know he's big with the Falcons, Stacy Morgan. Stacy, thanks for joining us. How are you, my friend? Welcome.
Hey Lou, it's an honor to be on part of the show right here. I'm super excited. But yeah, definitely the Atlanta Falcons. I cover them on my podcast, and I just live and breathe Atlanta Falcons each and every single day. And at work, everybody just makes fun of me for like, man, support another team. I was like, no, I love the underdogs so much.
There you go. There you go. Tough game for you guys last week against the Commanders. But my first question is, do the Falcons have enough left to hang with Tampa Bay to possibly sneak out that win in the NFC South?
Honestly, I think so. I mean, the Falcons, they're strange. They win against the teams that you don't suspect them to win against, and then they lose against the teams that we are expected to win. But with the remainder of the schedule right here, I think we can. It's just, it all comes down to coaching, really, because now we're out of not out of, we don't have Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, that's a huge loss.
But have we really been using Kyle Pitts effectively? Not really. So yeah. I think offensively, I think we're good. We get AJ Terrell back on defense, so that really helps our chances right there. So like against Pittsburgh right now, we're only a +1, so we're +1 underdogs at home. But the Steelers, they're a rebuilding team, and I think we got a better advantage over them and for the remainder of the schedule.
I don't disagree with you there with that Pittsburgh game. It's funny because you look on the different betting sites. You're anywhere from a 1-point dog to a 1-point favorite. So it's literally a toss-up against Pittsburgh. But you touched on it, losing Kyle Pitts. I want to bring that up because you hit something. I don't understand how they're using him either. I thought he would be the focal point of your offense. I know Marcus Mariota is more of a hybrid passer / maybe still a little bit of a runner, but I really thought Kyle Pitts would be more of a focal point of your offense. And it's almost, you're right. I don't know if losing him is a deal breaker.
No, I mean, because he's only got 2 touchdowns on the season. And yes, I mean, he's gained a lot of reception yards, but outside of that, he's just being used as a blocking tight end for like Alamine Sakias and, Tyler Algier, all them. So, I mean, losing Kyle Pitts is just, I mean, yes, it does hurt because you are losing that extra kind of like offensive lineman per se. But at the same time, I mean, it is what it is, but I hate to lose them at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, I bet. Stacy, one of the bets before the season started, I was looking at prop bets. I'm a degenerate. What can I say? I'd like to look at that stuff. But one of them that I took, and I'm going to be dancing my way to the bank unless something happens in this Pittsburgh game, was over under 2,100 passing yards for Marcus Mariota. And last I checked, he's at 2,047. That to me was a no-brainer bet. And he's on pace to probably throw for around 3,000. What has been your take on the play of Marcus Mariota this year?
He's an effective quarterback. He really is. Yes, he makes rookie mistakes like just throwing to a wide open defender, but Atlanta Falcons fans, I mean, yes, they're going to attack me now, probably, for whoever's going to be listening to the podcast or show here. Marcus Mariota is the right guy for right now. We cannot just rely on Desmond Ridder to just, come in and, turn the season around, because what if he starts making all those mistakes? I mean, yes, he's the rookie, so he's given that pass to make those mistakes. But Marcus Mariota, I mean, right now with us just being, I believe, a half a game or a full game behind Tampa to win the South, Mariota is your best option. And if you do win the South this year, he's our guy going into next year. And I wouldn't be, mad about that, but halfway through next year, if, just scenario, and he starts and we start like 0-4, then yeah, put in Desmond Ridder. But for right now, you're in contention. You've got a good running quarterback and a semi good passing quarterback. Whenever I talk about it on my podcast, Marcus Mariota, he's a good in like mid-tier and low-tier passer, but whenever it comes to the long throws, don't expect him to throw it, because that's where you're going to get your interceptions and just, overthrown balls. But that middle field and lower field throw, I'd take Marcus Mariota every day.
Well, one of the other things I look at too, when you've got a situation like this with Desmond Ridder, he must, they see things in practice that you and I and the average fan don't see. And maybe that means that he's not ready. There's a reason why Mariota is there. He has the experience. And I look back, I think I've always liked Mariota from this standpoint. I don't think he did a lot to lose the job in Tennessee, but they went and got Tannehill. And then he went to Oakland or Vegas or whatever. And, they got Derek Carr. Now he's got a chance to get the keys to the car here in Atlanta. And I think he's doing a pretty good job. And I agree with you 100% that they got to ride it out with him. It's not like they're 1-10 or whatever, And so, I just, what I think is underrated too about the Falcons, Stacy, is your defense. And, I think they're it's a good ball club on the defensive side.
Oh gosh, yeah, this defense is atrocious. It really is. But again, at the end of the day, with you having AJ Trail and Grady Jarrett, there is that just T90 little pinch of a light at the end of the tunnel for this Falcons defense. And so I'll go over like some stats right here for the defense. Like overall, we're 28th overall defense. So like against the pass, AJ Trail definitely helped this pass defense, because we were sitting at 32nd. Now we're 27th. That's all thanks to AJ. So if you get a solid cornerback to help AJ Trail, I could say it's really being a top 15. And then against the run with Grady Jarrett, needing that help. And well, that starts with getting another defense coordinator, not Dean Pease, to run a 4-3 defense. Grady Jarrett will be unstoppable, and this defense will be top 10, I do believe.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. No, I can't argue with that. Before we take a look at the remaining schedule for the Falcons, I want to take, one of the things we do here on the show is we take a look at some hot props, the hot prop bets, and the three that stuck out, 2 for Pittsburgh and 1 for Atlanta coming up on Sunday. The first one obviously is Marcus Mariota. The over-under for Marcus Mariota through the air is 206 yards, 206.5. What would be, if you were a betting man, what side of that would you take, over or under against Pittsburgh?
Well, looking at Pittsburgh's defense right now against the pass, they're a 30th ranked team against the pass. So I would honestly have to take the over, just slightly over, maybe like 4 yards over that 206.
Okay.
But other than that, you're not really going to see a productive day of throwing the ball as much unless they're down by 2 touchdowns. And then that's whenever Arthur Smith is just really going to have to trust Marcus Mariota to start throwing.
Then the other ones are for Pittsburgh. You've got Kenny Pickett, the rookie, at his plus or minus is 188 yards against your defense. And then Najee Harris, their stats, if you will, Their predictions are 76 yards and a touchdown against this Falcons defense. Where do you stand on maybe Kenny Pickett at over under 188 yards?
I think you'll get it. I think I'm going to take the plus right here, but it's going to come with a lot of interceptions, I do believe, from A.J. Terrell and Mykal Walker. Mykal Walker, gosh, he's a ball hawk. He really is. And, he's another shining vector for this defense. But you get them too hot right there, Kenny Pickett's going to start throwing, I'm not going to say like pick after pick, but it's probably going to at least be maybe, I'm going to say at most maybe 4 picks throughout the entire game.
All right. Well, so if you're looking for a defense in fantasy this week, check out the Falcons because they can get some points with the turnovers. Let's take a look at your schedule. Now, you get a bye week after the Pittsburgh game, which, is kind of late in the year, but it's going to be welcome, I'm sure. I look at your schedule. This is why I think this is an important home game. You take this one, you're 6-7. Then you've got to go to the Saints, which to me is a winnable game. The tough one's going to be the Ravens. You got to go to Baltimore. Then you've got the Cardinals and the Buccaneers at home. That's a nice advantage to have, Stacy, with your last 2 games at home. You beat Pittsburgh this week. You're 6-7. And as crazy as it sounds, you win those last 2 games, even if you lose to Baltimore, you're looking at 9-8. That could get you that division.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Definitely getting that win over the Steelers. And then you got that bye week. All right, I think we just cut out right there.
I got you.
But yeah, you got the Saints, which right now on the CBS Sports app. Oh, we good now?
Yeah, we're good. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it might be my internet cutting out on my end. But yeah, so get a win over the Steelers, 6-7, bye week, Saints, then you're 7-7, sitting perfectly. Yes, the Baltimore Ravens is going to be a challenge, but they've also been losing a lot of important games this season. They just lost to Jacksonville this past weekend, and Jacksonville has just not been a great team either. So that does give me a little bit of hope, but with how things have been going for the Falcons, who knows? Cardinals, an easy one. Kyler Murray. He's more worried about playing that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. So we ain't got nothing to worry about right there. So sorry, Kyler Murray fans. And then Buccaneers at home. Yes, I think this is where the Falcons could honestly get that revenge game with that roughing the passer penalty call on Grady Jarrett back in week 3.
Yeah.
I think this is where we get our revenge and finally get a W over Tom Brady.
God, wouldn't that be something though? In going into week 16 or week 18, both teams at 8-8, or they might be 9-7, and you get that, you're both at 9-8, you get the tiebreaker. And the thing is, you win the division, you get a first round win game at home. I know that's kind of premature to think about the playoffs when you're still a month or so out, but the table's there for you guys. It's almost like the Falcons still control their own destiny.
Oh yeah, definitely. It just comes down to, playing complementary and strategic football. I mean, you got to be smart with how you use Marcus Mariota and the receivers. And if you're Dean Pease, you really have to come up with a god tier defensive strategy, because yes, I mean the Saints is, and I'm a Falcons fan giving a little bit of credit to the Saints, but the Saints can move the ball, and you have to stop them. You have to stop Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, Kyler Murray on the Cardinals. So you're going to really have to sit down late at night and come up with a defensive game plan to stop both of those offenses. And if you can and start getting the turnovers, quarterback hits, it'll be winnable games. I'm not going to say like a big margin, but at least maybe 2 touchdowns, per game.
Then you've got, this weekend, you talk about the Saints. They're taking on Tampa Bay on Monday night at Tampa. That's a huge game there too. Now, the Saints win, they're 5-8. The Bucs lose, they're 5-7. Again, a big game in that. No matter what you slice it, that's got big ramifications in the NFC South.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. And so, I mean, as much as it kind of kills me to say, I mean, go Saints, because you're going to help the Falcons out right here. So, and then after that, then we come to your place, and we're just going to kick your butt. I hope, fingers crossed.
Well, Stacy, this has been a treat. Thank you for coming on the show. We're about ready to wrap it up. Good luck with your podcast as well. Keep up the great work. Let's hope the Falcons can keep it going. And we can talk about maybe a Week 18 encounter where the stakes are high for the Falcons to possibly win that division.
Oh, yeah. So it's going to be a tough battle ahead for the Falcons. But, again, just, play it smart, and you might come out winning the division and hopefully at least a playoff round.
All right. Well, again, thanks, Stacy. Take care. If I don't talk to you beforehand, have a Merry Christmas. And again, thanks for coming on the Extravaganza.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Stacy Morgan joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza as we wrap things up here tonight. Want to thank all of our guests here for coming on the show with us tonight. Of course, Stacy Morgan, our Atlanta Falcons insider. Also, Stephen Rychel, our Philadelphia Eagles insider. And, of course, talk a little bit about the Lions against the Jags. And, of course, old friend of the show, Todd Corder, talking Michigan football and the college football playoff as things are getting exciting there as well. And we want to thank you, the viewer, for taking time out to watch us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on the Captain Lou Sports Network. We invite you to be a subscriber to our YouTube channel. We've got all of our shows that we do, including this and the ACHA Power Play, which we do every Tuesday night. We will have every Tuesday night now until the national tournament for them in March. So we invite you to be a part of that as well. Again, we want to thank you for taking time out tonight to be with us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Well, again, that's going to do it for our show tonight. Thanks to Stacy Morgan for joining us. Thank you again to Stephen Rychel for joining us, and of course Todd Corder making it possible here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Hey, again, we want to thank the folks at Belly Up Sports for letting us be a part of their network. It's been a blast, and really looking forward to a lot of fun things in the near future, and of course coming up in 2023. Well, this is going to do it. Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your feet down, keep your feet moving, keep your sticks down, and as always, keep your minds open. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. So long.